Discovery and the Void Captain. Marcus Stone stood on the bridge of the ESF Thunderbolt, watching the stars drift past the viewport. The Deep Space Patrol had been routine for weeks, checking mining routes and watching for smugglers. His crew was getting restless from the quiet. Lieutenant Jake Morrison at the communications desk suddenly straightened. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange. It's not on any of our standard frequencies." Stone walked over to Morrison's station. The signal was unlike anything he'd seen before. Mathematical patterns scrolled across the screen in perfect sequences, repeating every 40 seconds exactly. "How long has this been transmitting?" Stone asked. "Unknown, sir. Could be hours or days. The signal is very weak, like it's coming from a ship running on emergency power." Commander Beth Reynolds joined them from the tactical station. She studied the scrolling numbers with interest. "This isn't random. Look at the pattern. It's based on prime numbers, arranged in a way that any intelligent species would recognize." Stone felt his instincts sharpening. In 20 years of service, he'd learned to trust unusual situations. "Wake up the linguistics team. Get me a direct line to Fleet Command." Within minutes, Dr. James Parker, their senior linguist, arrived on the bridge. He took one look at the signal and became excited. "Captain, this is fascinating. The mathematical progression suggests high intelligence. It starts with basic arithmetic, moves to geometric sequences, then what appears to be coordinate data." "Coordinates? To where?" Stone asked. Morrison had been working on his own analysis. "I've got the location, sir. It's a star system about 6 hours away at maximum warp, completely uncharted in our databases." Dr. Parker continued studying the signal. "Captain, if I'm reading this correctly, the final section of each repetition appears to be a species identifier followed by what translates roughly to help or assistance in most universal languages." Stone made contact with Admiral Robert Harrison at Fleet Command. The grizzled veteran listened carefully to Stone's report before responding. "Captain, this could be first contact with an unknown species. That's beyond your standard mission parameters, but we can't ignore a legitimate distress call." The Admiral paused, considering. "You're not going alone. I'm sending backup. The heavy cruiser Valiant, stealth destroyer Shadow Strike, and medical ship Hope's Dawn will meet you at your coordinates in 4 hours." The next 4 hours crawled by slowly. The alien signal continued its steady broadcast, never changing, never stopping. Dr. Parker and his team worked continuously, learning more about the transmission. They determined it was coming from a single ship, probably small, definitely in serious trouble. When the 3 fleet ships arrived, Captain Stone called a meeting with their commanders. Captain Linda Torres of the Valiant was a combat veteran. Commander Ryan Clark of Shadow Strike specialized in reconnaissance. Dr. Angela Foster commanded Hope's Dawn and had experience with alien physiology. "This is our situation," Stone explained, sharing the alien signal data. "We believe it's a distress call from an unknown species requesting assistance." The 4 ships jumped to hyperspace together, carrying hope they were about to help someone in need, and the fear they might be flying into a trap. Horror in space. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the unknown star system. What they saw made every crew member freeze in shock. The system had one main planet, blue and green like Earth, but something was terribly wrong. 12. Sleek, dark vessels were orbiting the planet, firing massive energy beams down at the surface. Bright explosions lit up the planet's night side as cities died one by one. Even from their distant position, the humans could see the systematic destruction taking place. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Morrison at his communication station. "They're destroying everything." Captain Stone stood on the bridge of the Thunderbolt, watching the horror unfold on his main screen. "Morrison, are you still getting that distress signal?" "Yes, sir, but it's much stronger now. The source is... Captain, it's coming from a small ship trying to escape the planet. One of those attack vessels is chasing it. On the tactical display, they could see the chase." A tiny ship, no bigger than a shuttle, was running from one of the larger attack vessels. The small ship was damaged, leaving a trail of glowing particles as it limped away from the dying planet. Commander Reynolds checked her weapon systems. "Captain, should we engage?" "Hold position," Stone ordered. "Shadow Strike, what can you tell us about those attack ships?" Commander Clark's voice came through from the stealth destroyer. Unknown design, Captain. Not any species in our database. Energy signatures are massive. These ships are built for pure destruction. Captain Torres joined the conversation from the Valiant. 12 ships against 4. Not good odds if they turn hostile. Stone watched the small ship continue its desperate flight. The pursuing attack vessel was gaining ground, firing energy bolts that barely missed their target. Morrison, can you contact that small ship? Trying now, sir. Morrison worked at his console, sending signals on multiple frequencies. I'm getting something. Very weak, but someone is responding. The main screen flickered, then showed a face that made several bridge crew members gasp. The being was humanoid, but clearly not human. Her skin had a silver-blue tint, and her eyes were large and violet. She looked terrified. "This is Captain Stone of the Earth Defense Fleet," Stone said, slowly. "Do you need assistance?" The alien being stared at them for several seconds. When she spoke, her voice was melodic but filled with desperation. The translation system made her words understandable. "You are the Deathworlders. The legends speak of your kind. You come from a world of violence and death, yet you protect others even when it means your own destruction." Her large violet eyes filled with something that looked like hope, mixed with terror. "Are the stories true?" Stone frowned. "I don't understand what legends you mean. What's your name?" "I am Zara of the Kelvani people, or I was, before the Scourge came." Her image shook as her ship took another hit from the pursuing vessel. "The Scourge destroys everything. They say weak species do not deserve to exist." Commander Reynolds leaned forward. "How many of your people are still alive?" Zara's voice broke. "I do not know. I was evacuating survivors from the northern continent when the attack began. My ship carries 63 refugees, mostly younglings. We may be the last of our world." Stone felt anger building in his chest. 63 survivors, children, an entire civilization being wiped out while he watched. "Zara, we're going to help you. Can your ship reach us?" "The Scourge vessel is too fast. They will destroy us before we can escape." As if to prove her point, another energy bolt struck her ship, causing the image to flicker with static. Captain Torres's voice came through the communication channel. "Captain Stone, those attack ships have noticed us. 4 of them are breaking off from the planet Assault and heading our way." Stone looked at his tactical display. 4 massive ships were indeed moving toward the human fleet, while the others continued their systematic destruction of the planet. "All ships, battle stations," Stone commanded. Warriors unleashed. The 4 human ships prepared for battle as the Scourge vessels approached. Captain Stone studied his tactical display, analyzing the enemy formation. The alien ships were massive, at least 3 times the size of the Thunderbolt. But they moved with surprising grace for their size. "Shadow Strike, use your stealth systems to get behind that ship chasing the refugee vessel," Stone ordered. "Valiant, prepare to engage the 4 ships coming our way. Hope's Dawn, stay back and be ready for casualties." Commander Clark's voice came from the stealth destroyer. "Moving to intercept the pursuing ship. I can get one good shot before they detect me." Stone turned back to the screen, showing Zara. "We're coming to help. Keep your ship moving and try to reach us." Zara stared at him with those large violet eyes. "You would fight the Scourge for strangers? The stories say your people are warriors, but also that you are dangerous. Why would you risk your lives for us?" The question caught Stone off guard. He thought about it for a moment, then answered honestly, "Because it's the right thing to do." The first shots of the battle came from Shadow Strike. The stealth destroyer appeared behind the ship chasing Zara and fired a full spread of torpedoes. The Scourge vessel's shields flared bright red, then failed completely. The ship spun out of control, no longer a threat to the refugee vessel. "Good shot, Shadow Strike," Stone said. "Now get out of there before the others respond." But the other Scourge ships had already reacted. The 4 approaching vessels opened fire on the human fleet with weapons that lit up space like miniature stars. The energy beams were more powerful than anything the humans had seen before. The Valiant took the first hit on her forward shields. Captain Torres's voice remained calm despite the circumstances. "Shields down to 50%. These things pack a serious punch." Stone ordered the Thunderbolt forward. "All ships engage at will." Protect that refugee vessel. The battle began, in earnest. The human ships were smaller and less powerful than the Scourge vessels, but they were faster and more maneuverable. Captain Torres used the Valiant's heavy weapons to draw fire while Stone and the Thunderbolt circled around for flanking attacks. Commander Clark kept Shadow Strike moving, appearing and disappearing as he struck at the enemy ships from unexpected angles. His hit-and-run tactics confused the Scourge commanders, who seemed used to fighting enemies that stayed in one place. But the humans were taking heavy damage. The Thunderbolt's starboard shields failed after a direct hit, and the Valiant was venting atmosphere from her port hull. The enemy weapons were simply too powerful. "Captain," Reynolds called out, "we can't keep this up. Those ships are going to tear us apart." Stone watched his tactical display as another Scourge energy beam barely missed the Thunderbolt's bridge. Reynolds was right. The human ships were outgunned and outnumbered, but 63 refugees were depending on them, including children who had already watched their world die. On the communication screen, Zara was still watching them fight. Her expression had changed from fear to amazement. "You truly are the warriors from the stories. You fight against impossible odds without hesitation." Stone ignored the compliment and focused on the battle. The humans needed an advantage, something the Scourge wasn't expecting. He studied the enemy formation and noticed something interesting. The 4 attacking ships were staying close together, probably for mutual protection. "All ships, new plan," Stone announced. "We're going to use the planet's gravity well for a slingshot maneuver. Follow my lead." The human fleet dove toward the burning planet, using its gravity to increase their speed while the Scourge ships followed. It was a dangerous move that brought them closer to the other 8 enemy vessels still attacking the surface, but Stone was counting on surprise. The maneuver worked perfectly. The human fleet whipped around the planet and launched themselves back toward their pursuers at incredible speed. The price of courage. The 4 human vessels used the planet's gravity to build tremendous speed, then launched themselves back toward the pursuing Scourge ships. The enemy vessels, caught completely off guard by the sudden reversal, found themselves flying straight into the human formation. "Fire everything!" Stone shouted. The combined firepower of the human fleet struck the leading Scourge ship at point-blank range. Torpedoes, energy beams, and kinetic rounds all hit within seconds of each other. The enemy vessel's shields collapsed, and explosions rippled across its hull. But the humans paid a terrible price for their bold attack. The Valiant took 2 direct hits from the remaining Scourge ships. Captain Torres's voice crackled over the communication channel, filled with static and the sound of alarms. "Hull breach on decks 3 through 6. Main engines are offline. We're dead in space." Stone saw the massive cruiser drifting helplessly as the 3 remaining Scourge ships moved in for the kill. "Shadow Strike, cover the Valiant. Thunderbolt moving to intercept." Commander Clark's stealth destroyer appeared between the enemy ships and the crippled Valiant, firing rapidly to draw their attention. "I can't hold them off for long, Captain. These things are too big." The Thunderbolt raced to help, but Stone knew they wouldn't make it in time. The Scourge ships were already charging their main weapons, preparing to destroy the Valiant. Then something unexpected happened. Captain Torres's voice came through the communication channel, calm and determined. "Ramming speed." "Linda, no," Stone shouted, but it was too late. The Valiant's emergency thrusters fired, pushing the damaged cruiser directly toward the nearest Scourge ship. The enemy vessel tried to move away, but the human ship was too close. The 2 vessels collided in a massive explosion that lit up the entire star system. When the light faded, both ships were gone. Stone stared at the empty space where his friend had been just moments before. Captain Torres and her crew of 400 had sacrificed themselves to take out one of the enemy ships. The remaining 2 Scourge vessels seemed stunned by the attack, holding position as if their crews couldn't believe what had happened. "Captain," Reynolds said quietly, "we've got more problems. The other 8 Scourge ships have stopped attacking the planet. They're all heading toward us." Stone looked at his tactical display. 8 enemy ships were indeed moving their way, leaving the burning planet behind. With only the Thunderbolt and Shadow Strike still operational, the odds were now impossible. "All ships prepare for final engagement," Stone ordered. "We make them pay for every shot." But before the battle could resume, something incredible happened. The communication channel crackled to life with dozens of new voices, all speaking the same melodic language that Zara used. "Captain," Morrison said, his voice filled with surprise, "I'm detecting multiple ships emerging from the planet's surface. Small vessels, but there are many of them." On the main screen, they could see the new arrivals. Dozens of small Kelvini ships were rising from the planet, damaged and barely functional, but still flying. They formed a protective circle around the human fleet. Zara's voice came through the communication system, speaking to her own people in their language. Stone couldn't understand the words, but the tone was clear. She was telling them about the humans, about the sacrifice they had just witnessed. "Captain Stone," Zara said, switching back to the human language, "my people wish to stand with you. We are not warriors like you, but we will not let you fight alone." Stone felt his throat tighten. These people had just watched their world burn, lost everything they had ever known, and now they were offering to fight alongside the humans who had tried to save them. "Zara, your ships are damaged. You should escape while you can." "No," she replied firmly. "You showed us what courage means. The Scourge calls us weak, but they are wrong. We choose to be strong." Birth of the Alliance. The 8 Scourge ships arrived at the battle zone and stopped, apparently confused by the sight of the Kelvani vessels. The humans had expected them to attack immediately, but instead, they seemed to be analyzing the situation. "Commander." Clark's voice came from Shadow Strike. "Captain, I'm reading some kind of communication between the Scourge ships. They're talking to each other." Then one of the Scourge vessels sent a message to the human fleet. The voice was cold and mechanical, speaking through a translation system. "Deathworld species, we know of your reputation. You fight without fear of death, but you are outnumbered. Surrender now, and we will grant you quick deaths." Stone stood up on his bridge, anger building in his chest. "This is Captain Stone of the Earth Defense Fleet. We don't surrender to bullies who attack innocent people." "You would die for these weak creatures? They are not even of your species." "That's what separates us from you," Stone replied. "We protect those who cannot protect themselves." The Scourge commander seemed to consider this. "Your species is, as the legends say, warriors who fight for others, even when defeat is certain. We respect this, but it will not save you." The 8 ships spread out into attack formation, their weapons charging. Stone watched them prepare and felt a strange calm settle over him. They were going to die here, but they had saved 63 Kelvani lives. That had to count for something. "All ships, prepare for final battle," Stone ordered. "It's been an honor serving with you." The Scourge ships opened fire, their energy, beams lighting up space. But before the weapons could reach their targets, something incredible happened. Shadow Strike, which had been positioned behind the main formation, suddenly accelerated at maximum speed. Commander Clark's voice came through the communication channel one last time. For the Valiant. For Captain Torres, the stealth destroyer moving at full speed slammed directly into the middle of the Scourge formation. The explosion was massive, destroying Clark's ship and damaging 4 of the enemy vessels. The remaining 4 Scourge ships scattered, their formation broken. Stone felt tears in his eyes as he watched another friend sacrifice himself for the mission. First Torres, now Clark. Good people giving their lives to protect strangers. "Captain," Reynolds said, her voice tight with emotion, "the damaged Scourge ships are retreating. The others are holding position." Stone looked at the tactical display. 4 Scourge ships remained, but they seemed uncertain. The human tactics had clearly surprised them. Ships that fought to the death, crews that sacrificed themselves for. Others warriors who protected people they had never met before. The Kelvani ships were still holding their position around the Thunderbolt, waiting for orders. Zara's face appeared on the communication screen, her large violet eyes filled with tears. "Your people are truly the warriors of legend," she said softly. "They give their lives so others may live. We will remember this always." Stone nodded, trying to find his voice. The battle was not over, but something had changed. The Scourge ships were no longer attacking with the same confidence. They had learned that humans would fight to the death for their beliefs. But more importantly, an alliance had been born. The Kelvani had found their courage, inspired by human sacrifice. And across the galaxy, the legend of the Deathworlders would spread. The story of warriors who came from a world of violence but used their strength to protect the innocent. The space around the burning planet was quiet now. The 4 remaining Scourge ships held their position, no longer certain of victory. The humans and Kelvani faced them together, united by shared courage and the memory of those who had given everything for others. This was how the Terran Empire would begin, not with conquest, but with protection, not with fear, but with hope. The galaxy would never be the same.